And this is the only part of the event tonight that is recorded, but we do record when the poet in context wishes to be recorded. We do record this opening presentation. And then after that, when we're all just informally presenting poetry that may or may not be in its final form and, and maybe to allow us some freedom, we don't record the rest of the event. So you will not be recorded if you are not Sal tonight. But we are ready to roll with that. And I will officially introduce Sal. He is the current Poet Laureate of the city of Modesto. And I find this a great juxtapositioning. He's also the president of the Stanislaus Audubon Society. I may ask you a little bit about that. Sal has a Master of Fine Arts from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. And while he was there, he was awarded the Academy of American Poets University Prize. And he is now retired from teaching. He taught English and drama at Grace Davis High School in Modesto. And his latest book of poetry is Hello, Posterity. And he's also published nonfiction, plays, short fiction. So quite a repertoire. And we are really happy to have you here tonight, Sal. And because I'm so intrigued by it, I'm just going to ask, okay, Poet Laureate, Audubon Society, how do they fit together?
Just two separate passions that,
okay.
Branches off the same tree.
Mm-hmm. Perches off the same tree.
Nature. Actually, when I was bird watching, I used to look at birds and not know their names. Mm-hmm. And I would write the word bird in my poems. And eventually I thought, I've got to be more specific than that. So yes. I would say my poetry brought me to birding. Birding brought me to be more specific. And I do write a lot of nature poems. You'll probably hear some of them tonight.
Okay, very good. And when did you start writing poetry?
Oh, there's I was sort of brought up on Greek and Latin stuff, so classic.
Okay. And
there's a Roman expression, poetas nascitur non facit, which means a poet is born, not made. Okay. So I really believe that. I believe you just come with the equipment and then you go looking for the tools, Okay. So I was born with a love of language and its facility, and then I went to the right places to study for it and worked on it. I just think it's like that. Yeah.
Okay. And what tools have you found to be useful?
Well, all my education, I will have to say that I studied poetry. I love Greek and Roman poetry. I studied just about the poetry from every season and century I could. I'm trying to catch up to the 21st century, but I've kind of really like the old stuff, a lot of those.
All right. So a long historic reach.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Cool. Okay. And is there any time when it's difficult or it's been difficult for you to write, or do you storm through it all?
I don't really concern myself with block or stoppage or starting. I just have some phrases or ideas, put them to pen, set them aside, come back to it. And if you're not writing, you're doing something else, you're always thinking about it. So I just let it come when it's most natural. I don't try to force it.
Okay.
And I don't write more than a few poems a month. I don't sit down and write every day, for example.
Okay. I know a lot of people have different techniques on that, and I think it's always helpful to hear how poems come to you and how you deal with that, with the ideas. I think that's very helpful. Why don't you go ahead and present some of your poems?
Okay, and I do have my timer, so I'm going to hit my 20-minute mark.
Okay.
I was raised in the theater. I worked in the theater, so we lived and died by the clock. So
okay.
Anyhow, I'm going to. Those are my daughters, and here's my
my daughters.
Here's some of my poetry. I'm going to start with actually a poem for my first daughter when she was born. It's going back away since she's in her 30s now, and I'm going to start my timer because I want to be on time.
Okay.
Canzone. Pour my heart in another mold, into a loving cup of gold. All my cares are thin as sand when she's sleeping in my hands. So frail, she gives me strength by calling up my tenderness. So small, the earth itself is shrunk from a world to a spinning toy. So pure, she ransoms back the cost of the faith in life I had lost by renting rooms in Babel with her only words, silence and a cry. Pour my heart in another mold, a chalice made of hammered gold. All my troubles turn to water when I hold my infant daughter.
Uh,
And that particular one has been set to music, actually, by a composer friend of mine who I know after 40 years. And then I shifted away from the merely personal and got looking at the world more. And this expresses kind of my philosophy about a lot of the poems you're going to hear. Not I, says the world. Oh, how tired is it possible to be to have that unsingular pronoun affixed to this singled out body? The answer is very, so fatigued from always having to say it. Oh, but to be fresh within the 10,000 things, the tangible, the ripe and frangible, all things not of our making, earth, stone, water, star. Oh, to be folded within the sumptuous music of our spoken makings, all the parts of our naming, bird, fish, tree, flower. Oh, to be home with all within, to roam around the Trinity, the cathedral of vibrant things, language as their echo hymns, and I as the least of the three, body and blood, a pen with a serving pulse. And I was reading a book by Edgar Allan Poe today, and one of his lines is, at its best, art is the continuation of nature by other means. I like that. This one, look up while you can. The first time I've read this to anybody, it's got a little quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The sky is the daily bread of the eyes. When the sky is presenting a sunrise, ribbed in salmon and teal, ochre and lemon, who here takes the show in its stride? When the sky is showing commonplace day in cerulean shades of pearl and shifting clouds, who among us gazes in silent applause? When the evening sky is studded with lights, embedded in velvet blacks and cobalt blues, who is quiet enough to wonder still? Oh, these words are such small failures for painting the colors that mix in the sky. So let them be a hand pointing up. Now that we are all grown up, perhaps our heads down by it all, past that young feeling of awe, dear fellow travelers, now, who do you still want to be? Let's finally be the sort of persons who receive beauty when freely given. Let's pay our priceless attention, not to have at all, but to feel inside. Lift up your head while you can. Let's look up much more at the sky.
Oh,
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this next one, again, you see the vein, the nature vein here on this, to walk with clean purpose. I tread behind a raccoon's printed trail along the ragged mudflat's edge to where it vanishes in shrubs. Keeping still, I stand there, taking in the momentary sun to feel the calm it gives. I step beside winding tracks of quail along a weed-fringed path until they lead into scrub. I stand there still again, making of a moment's sun a tranquil time to live. I follow the path of a coyote into and through the open fields. No malice here with me. Turning for my hard kind, I do no hurt by walking so. Speak no harm by where I go. In clean purpose from a screaming world, I take to the trails of raccoon and quail. I follow the way of the coyote. And I have a little friend of mine, a persona called Harry D. I've written a lot about him over the years, and he literally does not exist except in my book. So the blurb on my book says, I can't live, please buy this book, I can't live without it. That's what Harry D. says. Harry D. attempts to meditate. Because the rough world chafes and grates, Harry D. resolves to meditate. He sets his jaw to cogitate. I'll struggle for that blissful state. He shuts his eyes to close the gates but his beehive pate will not abate. Its neurons buzz at a lightning rate. They take up again their fierce debate on choice or luck, on will or fate, which one with the other still berates. Harry's meat server fulminates. He wonders where he's been, what he ate, whom he's offended as of late. Friends or foes are once again his mate. He thickly tries to concentrate on that single syllable opiate. An inward seed then germinates to grow the truth that blossoms great. Harry D was born with an unclean slate. He never, cannot ever meditate. So those are for people who don't think rhyme matters. I enjoy rhyming. That's got a lot of rhymes in it. Okay, yes. This next one visually is kind of like what I like to go for in repeating lines and changing them a little bit. This horse that I am saddled with, a gift from my great-grandparents' stock. This blessed beast was shipped to me from distant shores by foreign hands. It would climb the heady mountains. It would thread the tricky plains with such speed, such stylish youth. But time is a halter on its face. And furthermore, there was my abuse. I was careless of where it roamed. I was heedless of what it ate. So often now it stops and ruminates and stands in place. So often now it falters in its human's race. And furthermore, there's its disuse. It is thoughtless of whom I need. It is heartless of what I dream. So slowly I ride to its rightful place on this horse that I am saddled with, a gift from my great-grandparents' lot. This blighted beast that was shipped to me from the distant shores of a foreign land.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. I am imagining applause. We're almost more than halfway there. This next one, for those of you who are creatives, as you all are, I'm sure, is to build is to live. Why is it not more of a wonder that you are enabled to build it out of will and what else there is? From will-o'-the-wisp moments as you put your hands to it, which may spin to hours, slide over days, stretch into months, years, or whatever strands of time woven until it stands here, complete, for some later other one, far from the time you used, far from the place you mused, to ponder there without you, how you could even build it. Yes, that work of your hands may begin broken and slow, but what may speed you to go is that you ever built it at all, and marvel when left alone. It is nothing less than a wonder.
True.
Hopefully you recognize yourself in having built something. This is another goofy one with a lot of rhymes in it. Poetry Incorporated, I enjoy doing these. When I'm on the brink of some clever thing to think, I set about to link any words that nicely plink. Loosen up the kinks and let the words that stink drop to the void and sink. Then quick as a mink, I sound them for that clink that means they are in sync. So with a nod and wink that it's at least distinct, I raise this concoction of ink. Cheers for your mind to drink. Thank you. Thank you. This next one, I made a bookmark out of. Sometimes do bookmarks. Marco, Gulliver, and me. Oh, the people I have seen, all the places I have been. Yes. You haven't read the half. It wouldn't be believed. Marco Polo breathed it out on the last bed at his home. I have gone a long way out and longer back again. Oh, this world's a marvelous mess, and I have been terribly changed. Gulliver etched with his acid pen from the stable he called home. Since I am as alive as Marco was, and as made up as Gulliver is, come sit beside me here, friend, next to the sparkling river. Let's rest and share this water to mark our time together. Yes, to share this day together, I will cast back in my mind to tell you some favorite tale out of my river of them, of some people I have seen and of places I have been.
Thank you.
I have time to do Claiborne's Lot, which is one of my favorite ones. And very often I will, because I write fiction, I will create dialogue, characters, and this is an example of it, Claiborne's Lot. And then one more after that, I think. Claiborne's Lot. Claiborne didn't seek out friends. He shied when others saw him. They were roiled up in the world, too much alike and for each other. Some too vulgar for his sense, others like fool's gold, bright yet phony. Claiborne thought, if only they were more like me, only then how attractive they would be. In following time, lonely were the roads he drove, and lonely were Claiborne's meals. Claiborne didn't seek out love, yet she, despite him, loved him. She would take Claiborne around for company to parties, crowds, but he soon wearied of them. Claiborne thought, if only she would let me be, would not try so much to change me, how lovely she would be. In fair time, lonely were the paths he walked, and lonely was Claiborne's sleep. Oh, don't pitch in with Claiborne's lot. Don't crave that poison perfect, but cleave to the fractured and flawed. Clasp onto the glass seen darkly. No one knows this more than I, who has escaped to tell you, once I was a Claiborne too, before I drowned my mirror deep, before I found that golden key of getting saved by each of you. Thank you. And I'm going to circle back again to my daughter. This is a plate of bread when she was a youngster. And then I'll talk a little bit about my my books, not a whole lot. This is a plate of bread. And yeah, oh, good time. Swinging in our rocker chair in front of the woods behind our home, my daughter and I was still enough to see a rabbit by the woodpile. That caused her to run inside, fetch a plate and chunk of bread to feed what she had seen. The rabbit naturally fled, but by dusk the bread was gone. Every day for 14 became her ritual of tearing bread, of setting a plate on stone for what she would never see again. Not for the impulse of giving food, which God knows is common, nor for the delicate gesture in the breaking of bread, but for pure joy in the act alone, for not having to be there, watching while the gift is enjoyed. Yes, for that I am moved, now and at the hour this is read. Amen.
Amen.
And that's my set, as they would say. And I do have one poetry book left available. Let me show you. The situation is that I do not go with Amazon. Amazon has enough of our money. So my books are available wherever fine literature is sold, namely out of the trunk of my car or by direct mailing. And so I'm going to leave you with my I'm going to leave you with my my email address, and you can contact me later. If you were local, I would say yesterday's books, the Carnegie Art Center in Turlock, the Great Valley Museum, and the Groveland Museum also. I have written short stories, articles, and essays on birds, birders, and birding, and all of that you can ask about if you like. Let me just show you the cover. My wife is a artist, a visual artist, and this is what she often does my covers, and that's one of the ones she did, Barbara Gill. And this is really it says the complete poetry, but that's not true. There should be a caret here with the word almost, because I'm continuing. I've got another book coming out next year. So it's the almost complete, and it's 3 books in one. So if you're interested, let me know, and we can chat later. I'll just leave you my email. Thank you so much, Mary, for the opportunity.
Well, we are so happy to have heard you.
Thank you.
And I can only imagine what you were like as a teacher.
Thank you.
Lively classes. Thank you so much. And some of these phrases, I think, will stick with me always. The image of your daughter when she's sleeping in my hands, just gripping, and then tangible, ripe, and frangible. What a combination. So thank you so much. Are there other comments? I know you've got a whole string of chat comments to read, but I think maybe we'd all like to unmute and just give a round of applause.
Wonderful. It's a superb set.
Bravo.
Bravo.
Indeed.
Love it. All of it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Beautifully done.
So good. Thank you. All right, we're now going to begin our, I guess we call it our open mic time.